Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Beyond the Case, which is a podcast for global leaders from the Harvard Business School's OPM community, where they join in a personal capacity and share the real decisions, failures, and mental models which go behind building enduring companies. My guest today is Gustavo Reichmann. Gustavo and myself were both in OPM 67 at Harvard Business School. In October, we finished Unit 1 together. I don't think we ever got the chance to sit down one on one. So this conversation is as much as for me as it is for the audience. So welcome, Gustavo. How are you?
Thank you. Thank you, Soren. It's a pleasure to be here with you and to have this conversation. After some months we were together in Boston, and it's to be amazing. Thank you very much for inviting me.
Likewise. Gustavo, do you want to introduce yourself, your business, and tell us about what you do?
Okay. I'm a Brazilian. I come from a big family of 5 siblings, and also I built my family with my wife and another 3 daughters. Then always surrounded by a big group of people. Now we are in the break time here in Brazil in our beach retreat. Then you have the full family, all my parents, the siblings, the cousins together, all the little ones. Then it's amazing to spend some time in family during this part of the year. And I been working for a big Brazilian investment company with big companies during 20 years in my life as executive roles. And after this period, I would like to try something different in the next 20 years of my life. And then this was the decision to move to try to do some solo flight and use all the skills and capabilities I have been developed during my time as executive to try to develop business by myself with choosing my partners and building things for the next 20 years. And this is a little bit about what I'm doing now, entering this entrepreneurship world and trying to look for opportunities that can connect people that I met before, skills that I developed before, and create value in that type of business. This is the idea now.
What is the name of your business today?
Actually, when I moved from the executive life to the entrepreneurship, I actually partner with two different fronts. I have some partners in an investment firm in the US, some Americans that I met when I lived in Europe, and then we are trying to look for opportunities in the US. This is Monomyth Group. And in Brazil, I also have an investment group focused in the food service business, which is the HIT Group. And actually, I share my time between these two fronts, one in the North Hemisphere more, which is Monomyth, one in the South Hemisphere, more focused in food service, which is HIT Group. For the entity in the US, we actually are trying to develop some opportunities under the energy sector. Then one is a company which aims to produce the first US manufacturer to graphite, which is the main component for the electric vehicle batteries. And this is something that we are doing. And another investment in the food sector, which is a company who makes fresh mushrooms in the urban centers. Then you have a kind of a farm inside the big cities, and you distribute these fresh mushrooms to supermarkets as Whole Foods, for example. In Brazil, it's more about food service, and then trying to leverage my time. I was part of a big expansion plan of Burger King brand in Brazil more than 10 years ago, where we developed 500 restaurants in 5 years. That's a huge pace. One new restaurant every 3 days in the country for 5 years in a row. That's a crazy expansion. And then I was trying to use this know-how in expansion to try to look for opportunities in the food service sector in Brazil. Then we built this company named HIT Group, myself and my partner, which is our old friend who worked with me both in Burger King Brazil and Burger King in the UK. And then we started to look for opportunities. Actually, in 2 years now, we acquired 2 companies, 2 brands, associating food service and also experience, which is important nowadays in terms of what you deliver to the customers, right? And then one is in the barbecue sector, the best and the largest barbecue experience brand in Brazil, in the country. And the second is in the Italian food which associated also the good Italian food with the way of life of the dolce vita and the experience as well. In both cases, we try to deliver both good food and good experience to our customers. These two companies are run by ourselves, by Hit Group at this point.
So, going back to your experience when you worked as an executive, I believe you made investments as well, correct? On behalf
Yes.
of the company. What inspired you to venture out by yourself while you were working at the company for a good 20 years?
Actually, I was fortunate enough to, even when I worked as executive, to be executive of a big group and partners that first allow me to have ownership and partnership in the business I worked for, which is good, and also to entrepreneur in this business, right? Because it's not because you work as executive that you are not entrepreneur, right? In terms of to try different ways, to acquire different business, to make merge and acquisitions in different sectors. You can do also this entrepreneurship activities while you work for companies. And I was fortunate enough to be in a very, very interesting group with big dreams to expand, to create new business, and this was good for me because I had the opportunity to learn a lot, to develop a lot of skills, and to be part of very big projects during these 20 years I work as executive. The point about to move and to turn to this idea to try to do by myself is also, first, it's always good to challenge yourself, right? To prove yourself you can do it as well. We can try alone, you can try with good partners. But basically, I think it was a little bit about a reflection. We should do it from time to time, right, Sohin? And at that point, I was in the middle of the pandemic. Of course, in the pandemic, everyone was thinking about you have more time to think about the life, to think about the next steps. And in my mind, I had three things I would like to accomplish for the next 20 years. It was the idea to work more for me than for others, which is the number one. Number two, I would like to be able to choose my partners in the next 20 years. The people I would like to be together every day, doing business, working, waking up to meetings in the office and trying to find solutions, to find ideas, and to choose the partners was something important for me. And the third one, I would like to be more in the driver's seat of my life than to be in the passenger seat. And to do that, of course, it's easier to do this way if you have the business by yourself, right? Than to work in a company or in a big corporation where you have a limit freedomness, right? We have some freedomness, but you have some ownership, you have autonomy, but it's always a limit for that. We are completely free in terms of to be the owner, to be the founder. I think these 3 points I mentioned are probably easily to accomplish. Then was the idea to move and to try something different. But I'm happy. So far, I'm good. I'm happy. I think we are doing good movements in the direction I would like to do. We are developing things. I still wake up every morning with a lot of new ideas, new things to develop. I'm pretty happy about that.
Can you speak a little bit about your investment focus for your business? Is it the US? Is it South America? Are you agnostic to location? Could you also speak a little
Yeah.
bit about the industries you focus on, what stage you get involved, what your average check size looks like?
Yes, there are two different focus in the Monomyth Group, which is this company in the US, based in the US. The origins of our group was to focus in what you call the fourth industrial revolution, right? We identify the opportunity that bring efficiency, technology, and to create value in very big sectors of industries, but without a lot of efficiency. Then we try to think about that. And the opportunity in the graphite that I mentioned was a clear gap of supply chain in the US because we have an electrification movement happening in several sectors of the economy, since batteries, mobile phones, electric vehicles, and everything. And maybe the main component of the electrification is the battery. When you look at the battery, the biggest volume component is graphite, which is the anode, the negative piece of the batteries. And nowadays, the US imports 100% of the graphite, mostly from China. then it's totally dependent from the Chinese for this part of a important piece of the economy. And then what we did actually is we tried to look for technology inside the US to develop this graphite and produce internally in the country. Then actually we didn't find any company that could do it alone, but putting together two companies, we create a joint venture. We join in technology from two different companies, and now we have technology to do the synthetic graphite from the byproduct of the refineries in the US, which is the petroleum coke, and then from the petroleum coke you transform in graphite. And then we have a plan to produce in the next decade 10% of the US demand of the graphite in the US territory by our company. That is a huge project, but a huge capital invested. It's about $1 billion per factory. We aim to build 3 factories. Then it's a huge needs of investment and cash to do it. Then the idea for this Monomyth and this investment this way are more concentrated at this point in the North Hemisphere, US and Europe mostly, and maybe Middle East. You see some opportunity, but very concentrated on that. On the other hand, the Heat Group, which is this investment entity in Brazil, where we are looking for these opportunities in the food service. You have the barbecue business, you have the Italian restaurant business. We are now totally concentrated in Brazil, but I see a clear opportunity of internationalization. You remember probably during the pitch in the OPM, I presented the project to make churrascada in the USA, to bring this concept of thematic restaurant of barbecue to the US, because it's very close to the American culture of doing barbecue in Texas, in Florida, in the Midwest of US, in a lot of places. Then I think you have a clear opportunity on that. And also in Europe, because of the main capitals of Europe, it's difficult to have access to very good meat, and also with experience, with entertainment, with music, with a place for the kids to enjoy and play, because you are talking about a big restaurant for all the family and so on. Then for this piece of the business in Brazil, we believe internationalization is the next step, and this is the where I'm going to focus in 2026. I'm trying to develop the right partners to bring this brand to the US and to Europe. This is the focus now.
What is a principle you rely on when the data is unclear for you to make investments?
I always like to see business that where I believe the brand is bigger than the current business. Because when you have this equation where the brand is bigger than the current business, show you clearly you have an opportunity to grow, and generally you pay a price for the current size of the business, but the growth is implicit for us in that opportunity. This is what we did, for example, with this barbecue business in Brazil we acquired. We believe the churrascada brand is the brand that can consolidate the full barbecue ecosystem in the country, not only restaurants. You can do restaurants, but you also can have a beef brand to sell in the grocery markets. We can have a amusement park with the Old West thematic and have entertainment. We can have a hotel in the countryside of the country, exploring also the barbecue food and the ecosystem. We can have membership clubs. You can have the place to have very interesting country music concerts in the country. We have a lot of things to develop all over this ecosystem. Consider the brand is much bigger than the restaurant we acquired in São Paulo. Of course, the restaurant is good for this strategy because it's always generate cash that can fund the other initiatives. But when you look for the acquisition, actually what inspired us into move was to see the churrascada brand as the opportunity to develop a full ecosystem and not only 2, 10 restaurants in this brand. And this is the idea I like to see when I see the brand bigger than the operational business, then this shows opportunity to create value in my view.
So, Gustavo, why did you apply to OPM at Harvard Business School? What inspired you to do that?
This is something interesting. I think some reasons, sorry, but first, I like the idea to try to back to school at least every 10 years. I mean, the environment of education, of to make friends as we did, to share ideas, to discuss in the business school environment, I think is very nice, and you should try, in my view, to do it at least at 10 years time. I would say that. I did more or less as that in my life. I graduated first in engineering around the 2000 year. Then 5 years later, I did the MBA in finance. 2015, 10 years later, I went to Wharton in Pennsylvania, in Wharton Business School. And now in 2025, 10 years ahead again, I came with you guys in Harvard to the OPM. Then the first point for me is to expose ourselves in this very flourish and fructiferous environment of the schools. This is the first. Second, if in other moment of my life I try to look for management skills, this time I was looking for more entrepreneurship skills, right? And OPM for me, because of our group, very concentrating in founders, in owners, in entrepreneurs, I think was the right group to be in, and the right type of curriculum and agenda to be in. Then the choice for OPM and Harvard was more about that, about the moment I am, and to have these discussions with great colleagues as we have, founders, entrepreneurs. This was the objective of this moment and this decision now.
You have lived in South America and you've lived in North America. You've studied in South America, you've studied in North America. You run a business in South America and one in North America. Can you talk a little bit about the difference you see in ease of doing business, if at all, flexibility of approaching a potential client, striking new relationships, and the cultures between the two geographic locations?
This is interesting. Actually, I had the opportunity to live and work in both, as you said, South and North America, and also in Europe. I spent more than 3 years in the UK as well, then also a different perspective. And basically, of course, today the world is very globalized, and the frontiers and the distances are much shorter than it was before, probably, right? Then you move much more than you used to move before. It's much easier to try to connect different business in different countries, in different cultures. But we still have, of course, some difference. I think the main differences, sorry, for someone who born as myself in South America and used it to spend the early stage of my career and my life always in South America, is that because of the big challenge we have, the instability we have in South America, I would say as that in general, stability of political, stability in economics, inflation, huge inflation. It's crazy. It's difficult sometimes even to explain to a more developed country the type of environment that we face in Brazil. I think because of all of that, I think we forge people very capable in to survive in difficult environments and to be adaptive, right? To adapt yourself in different situations very quickly. Unstable by nature, then to adapt in a stable world and to have crises and challenges is something of our nature. Then it's easier, I believe, for us that live in this world to do and to face this kind of environment. That puts people that have these capabilities very well positioned to work in different sectors, right? To develop different type of business and so on. On the other hand, of course, because of the mature of the markets, because of the mature of the schools, you mentioned the schools, right? I studied in both South American and American institutions. Because of the history of all these schools and everything, we have there a huge concentration of people, since professors, students, everyone, that if you can share and learn and have this environment, which is also very good. Then what I believe is if you can mix this agility, this more good capabilities that you create in South America with a good development of education, business, more stable to construct long-term solutions in the North Hemisphere. If you can mix a little bit of both, I think we can have very good chances to succeed. I think in the end is about that, right? I don't believe in the one of the most important things that we can have in a program as we had in OPM is exactly this share of these discussions, right? To share perspectives, to open your dimensions, right? You generally have an individual idea when you discuss that. For example, in our living group, is in a small group, we change some of your ideas, and when you go to a larger group, you change it even more, and you develop more dimensions, more perspectives, and this is the good about that. What I believe from this my experiences all over these places in the world is in the end you need to try to pick the best of each one of them and try to have a is as you have I always like to say is as you have a backpack on your back and you are walking in your journey on your life. And every place that you are, you need to pick the good things and put in your backpack. In the end, your life is about what you are carrying in that backpack, you know? You go and you can have the good things, and this is the secret of the life. Oh my god.
Going back to the OPM program, was there a case or a professor that stayed with you and you think about even today?
Actually, I wouldn't say I have a favorite one. To be frank, I love it, most of them, all of them. But I think what is was my great and big learning or confirmation, because I used it to do it before, and I always like that. Is the exactly what I mentioned before. It's the idea that we can study a case and you can have understanding about the case. But when you open that for a discussion in a small group as a living group or in a big group as a classroom, our perspective and our understanding improves a lot, and you have new ideas, new perspectives, and this is the good about that. And it's not about one or two specifically favored cases, but it's about these learning communities and this group of friends help each other into have the best understandings, the best ideas, and this was for me the big output of my 3 weeks, our 3 weeks time in Boston.
Gustavo, what does work-life balance look like for you? You have kids as well. You have a family, you mentioned to me. So could you talk a little bit more about how you balance working in your two different ventures with the personal life that you have?
It's not a easy thing to do. I use it to work a lot, really a lot, during several years, and I still work a lot, but I would say in this mindset of owner, at least I work as much as probably, but I can have a little bit more control over my life. That helps. This is the difference. I control my agenda in the end. I work a lot, but under my control. This is advantage, but I always try it and use it to work a lot. And for me, there is no magic formula, Sohin, but first of all, what I always try to do is everything that you are, you need to do it with intensively, with energy. Then if you spend 10 minutes with your children, do it intensively, do it with energy. Plays a lot. I was here now, and the children are waiting for me, for example, to go to swim in the sea. And then I will spend 10 minutes or 15 minutes, but you do it intensively. If I am here with you now, I'm concentrated on that. I'm trying to do the best conversation, the best ideas, change this conversation in a good way. If I go to work and next week I'm going to São Paulo for some meetings, I do it. Then for me, the secret is do it with intensive. Live your life and your family and with your friends intensively. Work intensively. And of course, if you do that, yeah, you probably you sleep a little time every night because you want to do a lot of things together, right? You want to be with your family in the same time. You want to work. You want to travel to do business outside, and it's about life. I think there is no magic formula. We need to do the things with love, passion, and a lot of intensive. And of course, in some moments, you need to make a break. You need to try to balance. Now I'm doing a break here. For example, as I mentioned to you, I am for these two weeks in our beach retreat in Brazil, resting with family. And then this is a moment I doing more family than work. But probably there are moments I do more work than family. And then this is the life. Do everything intensively with passion and love that this will work in the end.
If you were to speak to your younger self, what advice would you give him?
Maybe I would say that I could try this entrepreneurship world a little bit before because I'm really enjoying that. Maybe I wouldn't wait for 20 years. Maybe 10, 15, it would be good enough already. Because everything is a curve, right? Of course, you are learning a lot of things, and now and it's little bit about the beginner's mindset, right? Everything that you start something new, we have a learning curve, but it's a lot about curiosity, a lot about you learn. Then I'll do it a little bit before, maybe. I would try to do even more than this. I did some, but I would do even more of these interactions with people all over the world, as you did in Harvard, in Wharton. I would try to do even more present on these kind of interactions, meet people as yourself and as our friends we met in Harvard more frequently. I would dedicate more time to that because when you work a lot, sometimes you dedicate not too much time to relationship to develop. You work a lot and you don't have time to go out with your friends, to make reunions, right? It's a little bit about that. But this is the points I would do it probably before and faster. This is the idea, but not too much. The life is what you decide in that moment. It's about decision. I prefer to think about the future more than to think about the past. The past is good for you to evaluate, but you have decisions to be made now, right? You have decisions to be made tomorrow, after tomorrow. Concentrate, learn with the past, but doing the present in the future would be great. We still have a lot ahead of us. I always like to think, sorry, the future is still bigger than the past, right? We need to think the future is always bigger than the past. Even when you are getting older, we need to have this feeling that, okay, but the future is bigger. It's nice to see people sometimes with 80 years old, 85 years old. I have my grandmother has 95 and she thinks about the future. This is great. Thinks about the future always, because it's better than to to think too much about the past. This is the secret of the life.
One thing I've shared with a lot of our OPM friends, based on observations through conversations like these, is every entrepreneur is an optimist. Everyone believes
Yeah.
the future is better and bigger, like you said rightly, than today. And that is why, even when they face obstacles or challenges, they continue to push forward because they know the future is bigger and better. So, very well said there. My last question to you is there a book that has influenced the way you think, or any book you want to share with us?
I think the book maybe probably is the book that made me join this Brazilian group there in the beginning. I worked for this Brazilian group, the 3G guys. And I remember I graduated as an engineer. I used to work to a family business of construction. And then I met a friend of mine who was a big partner of these 3G guys. And he told me about the group, about the ideas. And there is a book who tells a little bit about the history of the founders of 3G, the three entrepreneurs that founded 3G, which is, I don't know the perfect translation in English, probably is dream big, which is sonho grande in Portuguese. Dream big is to have big dreams, right? These guys always say that to dream small or dream big is the same effort, right? You can dream small or big. It's the same effort, but then it's always better to dream big, to think about big things and big projects, big ideas. This is the idea. And this book, which is Dream Big, about the history of these guys of 3G, inspired me a lot about the movements I did very young in order to join the companies, to work for them many years and to be in this journey. Then I think it's a book who inspired me a lot.
Thank you, Gustavo. This has been a phenomenal conversation. I appreciate your time a lot, and I hope to see you again soon.
Yes, me too. Me too. Thank you very much, Sonia. I appreciate.
Yeah, enjoy your time at the beach.
Thank you. Bye bye.